Good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Live Talk. We are coming to you from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington this Friday, July the 1st, 2022. I am Tungamili Nkomo.
And I am Evans Zeninga.
Tonight, we are remembering a man whose legacy endures 23 years after his death, a national hero, a freedom fighter, a man affectionately known as Father Zimbabwe, or simply Chibwe. Some say he is the president that Zimbabwe never had, and that is the late Dr. Joshua Mqabuko Nkomo.
The revolutionary Zapu leader who would later serve as Zimbabwe vice president after the 1987 Unity Accord that ended the Gukurahundi killings in Midlands and Matabeleland died on this day in 1999 at the age of 82.
As many people, including President Emmerson Mnangagwa, paid tribute to this towering figure today, the question we are asking tonight is, what impact does Nkomo's legacy continue to have on Zimbabwe's socio-economic and political fabric, if any?
Yebo Nkomo, it's a very pleasant welcome to the viewers. Nasi tiri kutaura pano nezvenyaya yemukuru akaenda Dr. Joshua Nkomo vaizikanwa nezita rekunzi Father Zimbabwe, chaive chiremerera chavaipiwa chaitaridza kukura kwavo nesimba ravo nemabasa vakabata munyika yeZimbabwe. Nkomo vakashaya musi wa 1 July tane makore 23 vaenda vakavigwawo paHeroes Acre panovigwa magamba eZimbabwe. Nhasi nyika yose tanga tichiona tichinzwawo nyangwe vana president vaMnangagwa vachitaurawo pamusoro pavangomo, uyewo vanhu vakasiyana siyana vemapato ezvematongerwo enyika, masangano akazvimiririra nevanhuwo zvavo vachitaura pamusoro pavangomo. Iko zvino nyaya yatiunganidza pano nhasi ndiye kuti titarise upenyu hwavo, zvavakabata nezvavakasiya vapfumbatisa kuvapenyu. Tinoda kubvunzana mubvunzo wekuti basa rakaitwa navangomo kusvika pari nhasi ndipo here parichiri pavakarisiya riri? Zvavaishuvira ndezvipi? Nyika inoendepi neupenyu hwavangomo nezvavakasiya vadzidzisa neZimbabwe?
Yebo, Evans, lingaba lichona njani emakhaya? Siyahlangana kuhlelo lwe-Live Talk lamhlanje kungolwesihlanu mhla ka-1 ngoJulayi, okulusuku lapho okwabhubha khona umkhokheli wayengumkhokheli weZapu njalo wazoba ngumongameli welizwe, ngumsekeli kamongameli welizwe ubaba uJoshua Mqabuko Nkomo. Lamhlanje uba leminyaka engu-23 wachona okaNyongolo. Sibone lamhlanje abanengi abagoqela inhlanganiso ezizimeleyo, ngitsho lo mongameli welizwe besethula imibiko bekhumbula ubaba uNkomo. Ke ngibale umbiko ovele ehofisini kamongameli Emmerson Mnangagwa. Uthe, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, joins the Nkomo family and the entire nation of Zimbabwe in commemorating the 23rd anniversary of the passing of the national hero and former Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Joshua Mqabuko Nkomo, on January 1, 1999. Chibwe, as Dr. Nkomo came to be popularly known by his comrades in arms and the general populace, the late Father Zimbabwe epitomized a rare breed of dedicated sons of the soil who sacrificed the comfort of private life for the liberation of their motherland from the yoke of colonial bondage. His exploits dating back to the days of the African National Congress through to the days of the National Democratic Party, NDP, the Zimbabwe African People's Union, Zapu, and ultimately the United Zanu PF are well documented and shall forever be imprinted in the history of our nation, the SADC sub-region, and of the African continent. Dr. Nkomo's unrelenting fight for human dignity and social justice won him international acclaim and an indelible place in African history. The statement continues. His fervency for the return of the principal heritage land is well documented and gave impetus to the historic land reform program, which followed barely a year after his demise. As the 42nd anniversary of Heroes Day on 8th August 2022 approaches, we shall continue to cherish the values that Dr. Nkomo stood for, among them unity, freedom, peace, patriotism, non-racialism, ubuntu, honesty, and selfless dedication to national duty. The Joshua Mqabuko Nyongolo Nkomo Commemoration Award for Community Development, Peace Development, and for Fostering Unity, which was established in 2021, is government's initiative to immortalize the late Vice President's unparalleled contribution to Zimbabwe's nationhood and to ensure that his legacy lives on. In conclusion, the statement says, indeed, as the nation moves towards the attainment of Vision 2030, the foundational work of this great luminary continues to inspire and to enlighten our path. We shall always remember and cherish Dr. Nkomo's achievements and vision. May the soul of Umdala to continue to rest in eternal peace. Long live our unity, peace, and freedom. Long live Zimbabwe. That's a statement there from the president, from the president's office. That's Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa today. Yo umbiko owethulwe ngumongameli Emerson Mnangagwa namhlanje ekhumbula uDr. Joshua Nkomo njengabanengi. Evans.
Itsamba iyo ine mazwi akakura mtungameli mkuru wenyika vari kutaura mazwi akakura pamusoro pavangomo anotaridza kuti chero kuine vanogona kufunga nekunyunyuta nekusaona mabasa makuru akaitwa navangomo akawanda kune vamwewo vatinyange tichikurukura navo kuti vanoonawo sei matauriro ari kuitwawo nemutungamiri wenyika nevamwewo vanoda kuteverera nekunzwisisa kuti upenyu hwavangomo hwakasiyei munyika yedu yeZimbabwe.
Yebo, Evans, kunjalo, and now we are joined by our first guest, that's Zapu spokesperson, Mr. Msongelwa Ndlovu. Mr. Ndlovu, good evening and welcome to Livetalk.
Good evening, my brother. Thank you for this opportunity to engage as we celebrate and honor the life of a luminary, a leader, and a patriot.
23 years on, what does July 1 mean to you?
Some of us may not even qualify to tie his shoes because of the stature that Joshua Nkomo was. But the 1st of July represents a day where we lost the leading light in the revolution and nationalist politics of Zimbabwe, where we should be reflecting but also celebrating the life of a leader that Joshua Nkomo was. We have seen efforts by individuals and government to honor him. First and most importantly, the renaming of the Bulawayo airport after him, and also the statue that was erected in Bulawayo. but a lot of people have made a call that Joshua Nkomo should be honored, and the 1st of July should be made a public holiday in his honor. We are aware, and as I listened to the statement by the president through his secretary, I think a lot of an opportunity was wasted where they released a statement talking about everything and anything, where they could have just announced that the 1st of July 2023 will be a national holiday in honor of this man. They speak about issues that lack relevance in terms of honoring the man. For example, they mentioned the issue of land, the land reform program, but they forget that in the early 80s, after Joshua Nkomo successfully executed a military campaign against the Smith regime, he mobilized resources through ex-Zipra combatants and bought land in an organized manner where his soldiers were going to benefit from the land, and the previous owners of the land would sell and get money out of the land. They talk about the chaotic land reform program, and failed to at least copy the model that Joshua Nkomo and his Zapu would have wanted Zimbabwe to transact through. So we are looking here at people describing a man of integrity, but doing so via deception. We know for a fact that the current leadership in Zimbabwe today do not mean what they are saying and do not say what they mean. They believe in deception. They want to hoodwink the world into believing that they believe in the ideals and values that Dr. Nkomo stood for, when we know for a fact that they are doing the opposite. Dr. Joshua Nkomo believed in the unity of people. He believed in the unity of people against racism, against tribalism. But what we are seeing today in the government of Zimbabwe is that the deployment of people is not based on meritocracy. It is based mainly on whether you come from my village or the next person's village. Chana chatete ndochopiwa basa, vamwe vasina, vamwe vari kumora huchi nemukaka, vanhu vana veZimbabwe vachifa nenzara, bayadla bayakholisa, uZulu abantwana basabalele ngenhlaba. Unkomo lokho bengabusapoti bengabumeli lokho ubefuna abantwana benhlabathi bakholise ezweni labo. So what we are experiencing now as Zimbabweans is a direct opposite of what Joshua Nkomo stood for. And when we hear and see the government speaking hysterically about Joshua Nkomo in the manner they do, we wonder if they truly understood what the man stood for. Thank you.
Siyakuzwa Baba Ndlovu. I would like to bring you back to the general perception that everyone I've spoken to today about Dr. Joshua Nkomo has been saying.
Sorry, Zininga, I'm losing you. I can't hear you, Zininga.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Please evacuate the building.
I was talking about.
I can't hear you at all.
Oh, let me see.
Okay, Ndlovu, let's do it this way. Zininga, go ahead and ask your question, then Ngizambuzu. You can't hear us totally, ngicho. All right, we have a connection problem there. Okay, let's drop you, Ndlovu. Uzama ukungena futhi ekuhlelo. Would appreciate ungaphuma then uzama ukungena futhi. Simba, I can hear some alarm.
Yes.
And you are being ordered to evacuate the building. What the hell is going on there?
There is a fire alarm going off in the building.
May I have your attention, please?
Is it a drill or is this real?
Reported in the building. Please evacuate the building by the nearest exit.
Okay,
let me check.
Okay, check and please let me know. Meanwhile,
definitely.
Yes. u-Evans lapho sokulodubo lapho akhona sokuthiwa evacuate i-building. Ndlovu, thanks again for joining us. Usungizwa kuhle manje?
Yeah, ngiyakuzwa manje.
Okay, ndofunga Evans angachithi angasina kupeza-ke kuvunza mvunzo wakhe, but I think vangachida kuti vanhu vese vangachitaura navo nhasi vanga vachitaura zvakanaka about vaNkomo. Saka naizvozvo ndofunga anga achida kubvunza kuti zvinorevei kuti manga muchitaura nenyaya yeholiday, zvinorevei kuti vaNkomo havasati vawana chiremerera chakakodzera apo vanhu vakawanda kudai vachitaura zvakanaka nezvavo, vanosanganisira vaMnangagwa pachavo?
Ndinovimba kuti chakakosha kucherechedza panyaya iyi ndechekuti vari panyanga vane masimba, vane pfungwa shoma, vane pfungwa dzakati wandei havana masimba. Ndizvo zvinoratidza nokuti pane kuti vanhu vacherechedze varemekedze gamba iri, vari kufunga ivo kuti tikazoremekedza vaNkomo nechiremerera chokuvapa holiday, ivo vanozowanei? Ndo chinhu chimwe chete chinoita kuti vasapiwa ruremekedzo rwavakakodzera, chekutanga. Chechipiri ndechekuti vatungamiriri iko zvino, vari panyanga iko zvino, vanhu vakapokana, vakapesana neruzhinji, vasingashandire ruzhinji, vasingateerere ruzhinji. Ruzhinji rwataura pachena kuti iri igamba rinokodzera kuremekedzwa nekuti vaitirwe holiday, asi ruremekedzo rwacho runobva kumachinda, machinda akaba ndingati zvaitarisirwa kunge zviri zvinoitwa kunyika. Vakazviba vakaba zvese nemadreams aifanira kunge akaitwa munyika yeZimbabwe. Naizvozvo mbavha idzi hadzigone kuti wavakabira vochimuremekedza.
Kodwa Ndlovu nxa sikhangela umbiko oyethulwe ngumongameli Mnangagwa namuhla, uthi Mqabuko bayamphakamisa kakhulu, kanti lo hulumende uzaqhubeka emphakamisa. Mbona istatement sakhe lapha kulenye iphathi abakhuluma ngokuthi Igahle Mbale, Nkomo stood for among other things unity, freedom, peace, patriotism, non-racism, ubuntu, honesty, and selfless dedication to national duty. The Joshua Mqabuko Nyongolo Nkomo Commendation Award for Community Development, Peace Building, and for fostering unity. It appears kule initiative le abakhuluma ngayo i-award leyi ngeke sikuphakamise sithi ngenye indlela yokumphakamisa ubaba Nkomo, yokumhlonipha.
Ngicabanga mina ukuthi lapha sesikhangela nje ubaba odlwengule umntwana wamithisa, abantu bathi ayindoda sibili. Kodwa sinanzeleleni phela ukuthi nxa udlwengulile, whether umithisile or wehlulekile, licala elikhulu. U-Emerson Mnangagwa akalalo ilungelo lokuncoma uJoshua Nkomo ngomlomo langengoma azikhulumayo lo Misheke esibanda. uJoshua Nkomo wahlukunyezwa kakhulu nguyena ubaba. Lokho kukhona embhalweni eminengi. Namhlanje uyabuya lapha athi atanase ngegama lika Joshua Nkomo, ekhohlwa nje ukuthi ukuhlupheka lokuhlukunyezwa okwenza uJoshua Nkomo kwakunguye yena ngokwakhe uEmerson Mnangagwa. Thina sithi nxa kuyikuthi uJoshua Nkomo bayamhlonipha, okwakuqala akube le mzekeliso yokumhlonipha ezweni lonke bengathi i-airport yakoBulawayo ithwe nguJoshua Nkoma, istage sakhe sekoBulawayo, bazama lapha ukubonisa khona ukuthi uJoshua Nkomo beliqhawe lasemathebeleland kuphela nothi eZimbabwe yonke lokho abe yikho khona. Njengoba usitsho abantu bayakutsho lapha bonke abantu bayavumelana ukuthi liqhawe leli. So why kungela stage eChinoyi, why kungela stage kaJoshua Nkomo eMutare, why kungela stage kaJoshua Nkomo eMashwingo? Into ilokho yikho kubalulekileyo. Kodwa kwesibili sithi thina uJuly 1 kumele abe iholiday ukwenzela ukunanza leli qhawe lelizwe. Lokho abakubhalileyo kukhona einkini akutsho lutho enhlizweni zethu.
Kuyini Ndlovu kumbali kaNkomo kumsebenzi yakhe elingathi alubana iyalandelwa ngababusayo lamhlanje ngabe ilizwe lisesimene sihle kakhulu?
Kubili kuthathu. Okwakuqala uJoshua Nkomo wathatha wakhethwa ukuthi akhokhele ezombangazwe kumabandla amaningi ahlukeneyo, atshintsha umbala aze kwaze kwaba yiZapu. Ngicela ubambe kancane. Yeah, so ubaba uNkomo wasekhokhela ibandla leZapu ngesikhathi esasibuhlungu kakhulu esasinzima. Wabumba ibutho lakhe leZipra, wakhokhela ibutho leZipra lasinika uZibuse. Kodwa even singakamtholi uZibuse sihlanganele ubunzima obukhulu, kodwa ngokuhlakanipha lolwazi lwakhe iZaphu leZipra yakhona ukuthi inqobe. Kodwa okubaluleke kakhulu throughout imbali yakhe ubaba uNkomo ade kwenza ukuhlanganisa abantu baseZimbabwe. I-concept yelizwe elithiwa yiZimbabwe ade phethwe nguNkomo, le concept yelizwe elithiwa yiZimbabwe esilithole ngozibuze ngo-1980 zinto ezimbili ezehlukeneyo. Ngabe abantu bayithola i-concept kaNkomo esithi ifuna ukwakha ilizwe elabantu ababambeneyo abathola amathuba afanayo abangancintezelwayo, ngabe khathesi sikhatshana. But ngizathi ngikutshele umzekeliso. KoBulawayo bekulamaqembu awezenguqu, enye ibithiwa iMashonaland United, enye ithiwa iMatabeleland Highlanders. Ubaba uNkomo wakwenza ukuthi kuguqulwe lokho ukwenzela ukuthi kuhlanganise abantu benga-identify kumbe bengabonakali ngomhlobo ngoba wayefuna vele ukwakha. That's why yazotshintsha iMashonaland United yathiwa iZimbabwe Saints, iMatabeleland Highlanders yathiwa iHighlanders ibhoso amahlolanyama. Ngubaba uNkomo ke lowo. Kodwa sithe sesithole uZibuse kwaqala ke umbhuqazwe, baqala ukubulala lezi ziqiwi zeZanu PF. Ubaba uNkomo ubone kubalekile ukuthi azinikele ngaye yena himself, wazinikela njalo ngebandla lakhe ukuthi aseve abantu bengapheli abantu. Akangenanga ku-Unity Accord efuna, wangena enikela iZapu, wayinikela wanikela laye ukuthi angene lapho aseve abantu. Lokho singawuthi ngama-milestone abonisa ukuthi ubaba uNkomo ubefuna ukwakha isizwe nothi lokho esikubonayo. Kodwa ngizawunika umzekeliso wokugcina ukuthi kule kampani ethiwa i-Econet Wireless, ikampani le bayivimba laba majaha aweziqiwi zeZanu, wasukuma ubaba uNkomo sekhulile njalo wayilwela. Namhlanje asikhangele sibone ukuthi ngayi akazange ayimele wamsupport ujahalwana, ngabe abantu bakithi bami ngaphi. Konke lokho kubonisa ukuthi ngumuntu wayefuna ukwakha, ngumuntu owayefuna ukulungisa ilizwe liphumelele. Yikho-ke siyavumelana lalaba bathi khona ngabe wathatha umbuso, ngabe ilizwe lethu alifani namhlanje.
Siyabonga Ndlovu, uqhubeke usecingweni if you can. As we bring in our second guest, that's Professor Ricky Mukonza. He teaches political science and governance at Tshuma University, South Africa. Professor, good evening and welcome to Live Talk.
Good evening to you, Ntungabili. Good evening to your viewers and fellow panelists.
Thank you so much. Many people are talking highly of the late Joshua Nkomo today as we mark 23 years after his passing. Is there anything you miss about Dr. Joshua Nkomo?
I think if I would miss anything about Dr. Joshua Nkomo, it's his fatherly figure that he cut, not only amongst those of his tribe, the Ndebele tribe, but across the country. Even when he spoke like a father who wanted to see, a united Zimbabwe, and he spoke, in a manner that did not leave others out. If also there is something that I would also, want us to remember about Dr. Joshua Nkomo, it is the fact that he was able to, humble himself and, get into a unity accord in 1987. An accord that he knew was probably not fair on his part. But because of the greater goal that he wanted to achieve, he still got into that accord. And at one point when he was asked, he indicated that, the consequences of not signing that accord were, more, ghastly than just signing. So he was somebody who would put the interests of people ahead of his own interests as a leader. So I think leaders who are there today would do well by looking at the example that Dr. Joshua Nkomo was. They have quite a lot to learn from that man.
And looking at the Zimbabwean society as a whole, without necessarily focusing on those in power, mungati ere life yavankomo legacy yavo ine influence, pane influence iri kuonekwa ere in today's society kuti ava vari kufamba negwara raiparidzwa navankomo iri kana kuti he has been totally forgotten. We only remember him on July 1.
Maonero andoita ndeyekuti apana kuratidza kurangarira vankomo kunoitwa nevanhu maererano nemararamiro avanoita zuva nezuva. Tinongozorangarira vankomo kana zuva ravo raJuly 1 rasvika, ndo patinotanga kurangarira vankomo. Ndofunga kuti pane zvikonzero zvakawanda zvinosanganisira kuti nekuti vankomo vakazoshaya vari kubato reZanu PF, vanhu vanenge vasina chavanonyanyisa kuda kuyemura kunyange zvakanaka zvakanga zvakamboitwa neZanu PF. Havana chavanoda kutarisa vachitambira kuti aiwa izvi zvakaitwa zvakanaka. Inyaya iyoyo yekuti upenyu pasi peutongi hwehurumende iripo iri hurumende yeZanu PF hwakaoma zvekuti vanhu havatonyanyisi kunyange magamba chaiwo pakanzi Heroes Day apo unotoona vanhu vachitoita zvimwe hazvivabati nekuda kwezviri kuitwa nevatungamiri vezanu variko nhasi.
Thank you there, Professor Mukonza, and please do stay on the line. Those who have just joined in, this is Studio 7 Live Talk, and tonight we are remembering Father Zimbabwe, that's the late Dr. Joshua Mqabuko Nkomo, 23 years after his death. Sibone umongameli Emerson Mnangagwa sethula umbiko mkhumbula kakhulu ubaba uNkomo, and kuhlelo lamhlanje silesikhulumeli seZapu ubaba Msongelwa Ndlovu, uProfessor Ricky Mukonza osanda kukhuluma, kanti sesilobaba njalo uJoseph Tshuma owebandla le Zanu PF. Baba Tshuma, ngiyakwamukela kuhlelo.
Siyabonga baba, linjani lonke?
Hayi siyaphila, silethemba labalaleli baphilile. Singene kudaba lwalamhlanje baba Tshuma. Bayakhuluma abantu, bayamncoma ubaba uNyongolo, bayamkhumbula ngitsho lo mongameli, ngitsho lakini kubandla leZanu PF. Kodwa abanye ikakhulu abeZaphu labanye abamabandla aphikisayo bayalisola ibandla lenu, bayamsola uhulumende, bathi kalimuphi inhlonipho emfaneleyo ubaba uNkomo. Bakhuluma ngeholiday, bathi usuku lwalamhlanje ngalwenziwa i-public holiday. Ungathini ngalokho?
Well, oqala i-syndrome yokuhlala sisolana leyi must be washed away. Angazi mbe ingagezwa ligazi likaJesu mbe ingagezwa kwini, but indaba yokuhlala sisolana leyi imbi ayifunakali. Abantu asifundeni ukubonisana hathi ukusolana. Ukubona kwakho kungaba kuthiyene lokubona kwami, kodwa nxa ungangitshela umbono wakho ngihlanze lo mbono wami, siyaba ngabantu abazwayo hathi ngokufuna ukuhlala siphikisa. Inkinga esiba layo ukuthi kona izikhathi zonke abantu bafuna ukuscore ama-cheap political scores, even lapho okunganidi khona. Uyabona ubaba lo esikhuluma ngaye yindoda emadodeni, babe umuntu nguThibwe echithedza kwese kusisho ukuthi kona even ungayethi Noi wayesaziwe ethandeka, ungaya eMtare wayesaziwe ethandeka, ungaya enyanga khona lephansi wayesaziwe ethandeka, ngitsho la ngapha kuboTsholotsho sehlu sithi wangebhinga, konke indawo yonke iZimbabwe yonke bevele saziwa njalo ethandeka, ebeyindoda emanyanisa abantu. Ngakho ke nxa kulesidingo ukuthi wona kulomunye obone kufanele ukuthi wona kube le holiday, which I think mina lami nginje, and Zanu PF would definitely appreciate that, and amboni kulomuntu ongakwala khonoko kufake etafuleni hayi thina njengelozeni iZapu le entsha, ngoba le iZapu anike ngenye iphathi enje yafonela akula problem lokwana vele anti wa multi party democracy lapha eZimbabwe. Sibona ngani ayilanga lele elika baba uNyongolo Nkomo ngalibe i-public holiday. Put a suggestion. Into enhle ukuthi lo uhulumende okhona i-Second Republic le is a listening republic. Iyalalela, ayivele nje ayizange ithi yona they've got the monopoly of ideas. Hatch yikho bona ivula isithi hayi uyasihlanganeni, hence the creation of ama-organs like Pollard and stuff like that. Yikho lapho nabo uyasihlanganeni nxa ulokunye ukubonayo ubona into sikwenza ngendlela engayisiyo, asibonisaneni, sakheni sonke. Akensekele upho kuhlala sifuna ukusolana, kodwa asibonisaneni.
Ubaba uNkomo Golide was a champion of unity, togetherness, despite ukwehlukana ngemihlobo, Shona Ndebele, Kalanga, Venda, Tonga. Kanti ubekhuluma kakhulu njalo esola indaba ze-corruption, inkohlakalo. Would you say uhulumende walamhlanje uyazilandela yini iziloyiso zika baba uNkomo?
Empeleni sibili ukhuluma into epheleleyo. Ubaba uNkomo yiko ngikuthe mina wayele reference yakawuta nguThibwe echithedza kwese. And nxa ukhangela, I've seen abanye abantu abale wrong notion ukuthi becabanga ukuthi kona iZapu leyana baba uNkomo yayi regional party imbe yamaNdebele, so to say. which is wrong. That was a national party. Hence, even the composition of the executive, discover more than 70% of executive. But it was a national party that did not matter. Vele babunkomo kazange afa wafuna ukuhlukanisa abantu ngobuhlobo kumbelani wayevele sithi abantu bonke sizidalwa zikaNkulunkulu njalo esithanda sonke sinjalo whether ulishona kumbula indebele kumbula ikhalanga kumbula itonga kumbula inambia sonke besithandeka kunjalo. So sikhangela kade esikhulu yes kulezi zinto eziningi ezingahambi kahle. Kulabanye abantu who take advantage of systems ezikahulumende bekwazi ukuthi kona because of our polarization abantu bonke nxa bekhala ba blame Zanu PF ba blame upresident uDim Nangagwa umuntu onguye owonileyo ozenzela into yakhe sesala yena emsulwa yikho sebesenza izinto zabo lezi with impunity. Mina I always say that akula party including whether it's Zapu kumbe i-CCC kumbe yini engafuna ungena embusweni and govern themselves out of power akula. Kodwa vele epartini yonke like any other situation kumbe ezimulini vele uzathola amagwelegwele uzathola abantu abangaqondanga abantu abangenamakhanda and stuff like in families uyathola kulomfundisi kodwa ihula olisweli umthakada umsweli futhi down the line yabo erobha so ziswele futhi down the line and stuff like that. So thina manje as a party we must party vele antakwazi ukujoin Zanu PF aku-apply lo kwanona so apply I beg to apply application akuyohlalo laphansi sikhukhula zonke. So you find out yes definitely in government kulabanye abantu abezinto ezingayisizo and abantu labana they are enriching their pockets hasi ama pockets eZanu PF or akahulumende. So this is the time when people must be coming up together sibambana not ukusolana sibonisane lo esimbone sezinto ezinjalo simchayela lapana umuntu athwale isiphambano sakhe uzabona izinto leziyalo ngoba i-corruption unfortunately it takes 2 or 3 people and once the other people don't want to come forward and say it akusela into lento evidence ngesikhiwo then idiri langona lihle live. So let's come together nxa sifuna uqeda into le. Corruption is there and we don't like it. I benefit the party, I benefit uhulumende.
Professor ndofunga makaterera vari kutaura vachuma apparently Professor Mukonza ucingo lwakhe soluqumile ngize kuwe Babu Ndlovu yamuzwe yakhuluma Babu Chu.
Umfowethu Golide ngikubingelele Golide uBabu Tshuma
kunjani
ngiyaphila mtshana ngicine Rainbow iminyaka ethize edlulile
phela mina ngizolwa intombi yakoNdlovu so umuntu ongakoNdlovu kumalume vele ngiyamhlonipha
yeah but njengomalume ngizathi ngikukhuze mzukulu ngizakukhuza sibili ngoba unguTshuma akumelanga ubuye uzontshuma futhi ngoba ibandla leZanu PF kumbe nje ngithi wonke umuntu oyisizalwane seZimbabwe ohlonipha ubukhokheli bukaBaba Nkomo kumele understand ukuthi kulento ezimbili ezintathu aziwa ngazo. Number 1 integrity uBaba Nkomo, number 2 humility, number 3 selflessness. Now abakhokheli kumele nxa bethi bayamhlonipha uNkomo kumele benze lokho. You must have integrity, you must have humility, you must have selflessness. Nangu uBaba Nkomo ufengela lutho esihlalela an ordinary life in an ordinary house. Khathesi singazama ukukhangela izinkokheli ezikhona kuhulumende laseZanu PF labantu ababo sebehamba ngamaLambogini, abantu abenza amacala abantshontsha emini libalele. Omunye umama lapha wabanjwa ethwele isaka legolide wathi ebanjiwe wathi hayi ngaphambanisa ngathathisa isikhwama esingayisiso. Umama lo akakho ejele la khathesi. Abathi yibo abakhala ukuthi hayi into le impi iyabulala ilizwe uthi alifuna ukusolwa abasolanga abanye abantu batsho bathi lokhu kubulala ilizwe lethu kodwa esakubonayo laba abasolayo yibo abafakwe ejele. Yiyo indlela uNkomo abephila ngayo na? Yikho ukuhlonipha uNkomo esingabe sikwenza na? Singabuza imibuzo leli sesisola hayi iqiniso alikhulunywe. Ukubona kwelizwe lokubona kwebandla leZanu PF kwenziwa zinkokheli zalelo bandla, asibantu mahlayana mahlaza nje, zinkokheli zeZanu PF yizo eziphethe inkohlakalo yonke. Babantunga.
Yebo, hayi liyamuzwa yakhuluma lapho Ndlovu anzi regarding tinde kuna Tshuma. Hanzi Tshuma uori huri kuitwa nevatungamiri veZanu PF vari panyanga chaipo ndivo vari kutungamira munyaya dzeuori, saka vari kuzvidza zita rava Nkomo. Tshuma.
Well, rega ndimpindure ndichiti inini ndazvitaura nini kuti kune vanhu vanoita uori, asi vanhu ava vanoita uori nemazita avo, asi vechiziva kuti mhosva inopomerwa Zanu PF kana kuti mutungamiri wayo comrade Idi Mnangagwa. Ndo zvandambotaura, but ndataura muchingati izvozvo ndo zvinokonzeresa kuti vanhu varambe vechingoita uori, because vanoziva kuti avambozobvunzwa kana kuti kunzi right iwe chimira apo uzvimirire wega nenyaya yako yawaita. Vanoziva kuti hai chese chinhu chinongopomera kupi kuZanu PF, because uori wati kutaura uyu huripo kwese and hatiude. I can tell you kuti ndine evidence of people even vari muTCC vari kumusoro chaiko vamwe vacho vaito supply maghost invoice kuzvipatara kwedu kubulawayo kuno kuHarare kwesoko, vechiti ivo they've supplied mapiritsi, injection, medical things, asi ivo vasina kuita anything, votora mari. And then inini kana ndakuenda kunorapiwa uko ndakushaya mapiritsi, yeti mwe munhu hurumende inochiziva kuti yaburitsa mari yakati tongoti pamwe maybe $1 million kuti tengai mapiritsi, tengai magloves, tengai izvi kuchipatara. Kwouya umwe munhu vamwe vacho vari masenior kuTCC ikoko vonyora mainvoice vechikonaiva nemaaccountants ezvipatara izvi votora mari. Saka uori huripo kwese, asi zvatiri kutaura ndezvokuti hatihude, toda kuti umwe neumwe ngatakure muchinjikwa wake, ndokuti tigadzise nyaya iyi. But tikaramba tichimura kuda kuita kablanket thing, condonation yaya inonzi vanhu veZanu PF, vanhu chaivo vari kuita izvi vari kutora mari vechisa mhomwe dzavo, vanorya nemhuri dzavo. Mari haimbouyi kuZanu PF, haiende kuhurumende, saka haidi benefit chinhu. Saka even nesu seZanu PF hatide kuti tibvumirane nezvinhu zvakadaro. Kana ari mewedu echidaro, toda kuti dai tichigona aexpose munhu atakure muchinjikwa wake, ndo zvatikuda izvozvo.
Aiwa, vari kutaura Tshuma apo. Ndizokere kwamuri Prof, hanzi Tshuma uori hatihude zvachose, nekuti vaNkomo vaikurudzira vanhu kuti vagare ine society isina corruption, society ine fairness and so forth. Asi vari kuti hongo uori huripo munyika, asi even them seZanu PF havadi kana unzwa necorruption.
Maita zvenyu ndavanzwa vachitaura, Tshuma vanotaura zvakanaka, nditoda kuvaremekedza nekuda kwekutaura zvakanaka kwavanoita, asi chokwadi chaicho ndechekuti zvavanotaura nezviri paground zvakasiyana. Zvavari kutaura nezvatinowana zvichiitwa nebato reZanu PF zvakatosiyana nekure. Toda tikaenda panyaya yehuori, pane nyaya dzakawanda dzatinoverenga mumapepa dzatinoziva dzevanhu vanenge vachiita huori muhurumende vari nhengo dzeZanu PF pasina zvinoitwa kwavari. Tisingade kudoma mazita, asi kune maminista akawanda chaizvo unonzwa kuti paitika huori kubazi raanga achitungamira, asi chinobuda nyaya yacho inongotaurwa, munhu obva abviswa kana kuministry imwe chete oendeswa kune imwe, hapana chinonyatsoitika. Tikada kutarisa Second Republic yava Mnangagwa, yakapinda ichiti inoda kurwisa uori. Ndobva vataura chaizvo nezvezaki inoita zveanti-corruption. Asi tikazvitarisa kuti vangani vakuru vakasungwa vakaendeswa mumajeri nekuda kweuori nekubira hurumende kwanga kuchiitika muhurumende, hapana. Saka tinoona kuti hongu wachuma ayo senhengo yebato reZanu PF zvavari kutoita ndizvo chaizvo zvekutaura zvakanaka pamusoro pebato ravo. Asi kana tikada kuzvitarisa tisina kwatakarerekera, tinoona kuti ayo hurumende yeZanu PF yakarera uori kwenguva yakareba. Tikada kuzvitarisa kubva munguva yavaMugabe chaiyo vakanga vachirera uori. Hapana chainyatsoitwa kune vanhu vanenge vaita uori chekuti chinodzisa vamwe vanenge vachida kuzoita uori. Ende ndofunga dai vaNkomo vanga vari vapenyu havaimbofarira zviri kuitika panyaya dzeuori idzi.
Thank you there, Professor Mukonza, and please do stay on the line. As we head to the finish line, we have a message here. Esithunyelwe ngumnumzana Timoringai oyebandla le-Triple C about i-legacy kaBaba uNkomo ngesizwe amazwi ka-Tim.
Ngiyabonga mnumzana Nkomo. Ubaba uNkomo Mqabuko was a very, very profound person in our history of Africa, not just Zimbabwe. We see that in his days, he was influential in the possibility of independence from Malawi to Zambia, to Zimbabwe, to the whole region, even revered by Umkhonto weSizwe and the joint operations that they had together. The establishment Zapu bases in Zambia and Angola, training facilities in Tanzania, Lani, Lokukhuluma le OAU during his time to bring independence in our country. So okwanamuhla masi khumbula umdala wethu, we think of a decisive character who was soft but very visionary in the way he did things. We can see that he sacrificed his own job at the National Railways of Zimbabwe to go and fight for our people. He was advised at one point, Ngubabu Chitepo and his secretary Mqabe at one point, you know, he worked with everybody because he believed in one Zimbabwe, one people, one nation. He did not believe in tribes or the divisions that were amongst our people. He, like one other luminary in our Zimbabwean history, the first mayor of Harare, Charles Mzingeli, was another one. And so Ubaba uNkomo was a giant. And when I look at his examples and the way that he lived his life, he was not a revengeful guy or umuntu that kept grudges, but loved our people to the end. So he has a famous quote, city, and the youth of Zimbabwe shall never let our country die. So that movement is coming back to life, where the youth are taking over our country and making sure that we have the democracy that our people yearn for. Unfortunately, when he passed, he passed without realization of his lifelong dream of freedoms that we so dearly miss and want to have in a beautiful country and a peaceful place like our own. So we say to Mdala wethu, may he continue to rest in power, rest in peace, and we continue the journey to make sure ukuthi ilizwe lethu eleZimbabwe will be the beacon of Africa if we all come together. Ngiyabonga.
Ngamazwi ke ka Mnumzana Tim Moringai owebandla le Triple C. Evans ngiyazi ubusukile kuhlelo lapha bekule alarm ekhalayo kuthiwa you are being evacuated. I hope it was nothing serious.
Well, it wasn't very bad because they could not identify the source of the fire and where it was said to be coming from. So we are all back to normal. We are all back in the building. Okay,
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, take it away with Ubabu Msongelwa Ndlovu, especially on the issue of many people admire Nkomo, but there are others, Abati Nkomo, Atengis, and so forth. Take it away, Evans.
Thank you, Nkomo. I was talking to a lot of people this morning earlier on the relevance of Ubaba Nkomo's legacy. And that came out in a few places where they really feel that the Unity Accord was the entry point of Nkomo's failure to contain the ethics and needs of Zapu as a party and the people when sometimes they even take it tribal and bring it to Matabeleland. But can you zero in on that and clarify for the people, Uguti, did he really sell out or was it a necessary move to unite Zimbabwe?
Allow me, before I transact on your question, to highlight two things. Firstly, my colleague and Umzukulu Ukolite Tshuma says he has evidence that there are people in other political organizations that are doing corruption in the country. And from where I stand, that is corruption. If you have evidence of someone stealing from the country and you keep it and you don't report it and you don't make them account, you yourself are corrupt to the core. And they must take full responsibility as a government for not taking action. But secondly, it is important for Zimbabweans, and especially those that support the ruling party, to ask and introspect and ask themselves whether they believe that the current state of affairs in the country called Zimbabwe would have pleased Joshua Nkomo. They should introspect and say, for all the years of struggle and suffering that Joshua Nkomo went through, did he suffer so that the country is run without any medicines in hospitals, without civil servants not getting any pay? All the ills that we see today, are they what Joshua Nkomo suffered for? That's the first part. The last part, and going back to your question, Joshua Nkomo fought so that every Zimbabwean can have a right to associate and to choose, and also a right to think. I'm sure if he was alive, he would not raise a finger when people question his credibility, question his decision-making. I think he would be very happy because that's what he fought for. However, it is very important for us to make sure that our younger generations are not fed with poison that will destroy them and destroy their futures. I said it earlier on, the decision by Zapu and Joshua Nkomo to go into the Unity Accord was a sacrifice on his part, where he sacrificed his own political party and his own political ideals in order to save people. He saved people so that we get a fighting chance, just like he said that Zimbabwe will not die, the youth will save it. He was speaking of the it was a prophetic message to say, let's avoid the complete annihilation of our people and give them a chance to fight later on. Instead of us fighting and reclaiming our rights, now we are dissecting his role in the history of our country. It is very unfortunate when you hear people now questioning his integrity with regards to decisions that he has made. But like I said earlier on, we should, if we respect and want to honor Joshua Nkomo, we should do so by allowing people to have diverse views, even about him, even if it's painful. We cannot condemn Zanu PF and start behaving like them ourselves. So allow the people who want to talk about their leaders, allow the people who want to talk about their heroes to criticize them as much as they want. That is exactly what Joshua Nkomo fought for. That is exactly what Joshua meant. But there are limits to those criticisms. There are limits. For example, I am Zapu and I'm Nkomoist, and I believe in the ideals that says every Zimbabwean should be a brother to one in Mtoko, in Nyanyadzi, in Hurungwe, is my brother. That is what Nkomo taught us. But when you have people then questioning his integrity, and they say dividing the people of Zimbabwe into enclaves, and they call them Shona that, Ndebele that, for us it's a big insult, because we live, the blood that flows in my veins is Nkomoist blood, and for that reason nothing and nobody can ever change my values with regards to the unity of our people of Zimbabwe.
Let's go to Ubabu Tshuma. Ubabu Tshuma bakona bati Nkomo wathengisa. Sisike sabezwa abamanye amabandla esingasoze siwaqambe. Ungathini ku?
Well, I can tell you for certain right now that for once I will agree with Umalumami Laba, Nkomo kazange athengise. But Nkomo made decisions that could have been painful to him, but in order to save lives and also to live up to his wisdom and words and will of unity. He always wanted us to be united. He probably did not even understand why we've been, after independence, went different ways, and now there was the Zanu, Jongwe, and Zapu, and yet the agreement was that we are coming back as a patriotic front and as one people. So that unity aspect was always going to be in his head, in his mind, in his thoughts, and in his deeds, indeed. So to say that Nkomo Wateng is, to me, I think it's very unfortunate, and it can only be said by somebody who probably did not have the pleasures of knowing Ubabu Nkomo personally. Mina, I'm a blessed sheep because I played in that yard in number 6. I grew up there, and I still live there, by the way. Right now, as you speak, I'm just a stone throw away from Nkomo's house. And I learned a school in Nduba, which is just opposite Nkomo's house. And so we had the privilege of seeing him as young boys, and we have the privilege of interrelating. You know, he used to love coming at break times as when we're playing soccer, when we were sports, we were running there. You just surprise us, and you see him say, by that time, his house and our school was only separated by a fence. There was no jura wall or this kind of barricades, that whole thing. So you just see him, and you know, it's a chaukwelo, and it was all nice. So for anybody to say that what thing is, they just don't know that man. He was a bigger than life character. And look, like Umalme said, maybe he didn't get me right. I'm sure we're going to lay evidence, but I said there's a known factor that is happening. If I had evidence, I would definitely have reported it. And this is where you find that a lot of corrupt issues then affair and lelen. You see, if you take somebody to court on a corrupt allegation, it is up to you to prove it beyond reasonable doubt, because unfortunately the law is in us. So the law will not temper about feelings or anything. The law deals with evidence. So if there's no evidence, someone can get away scot-free, and then they will have committed that offense. So every time, what people need to understand is that we need, when we want to prosecute these issues, there must be follow-ups and proper concrete evidence. Otherwise, somebody can just get away scot-free. So, like I said, Zanu PF will never condone corruption. We don't want corruption. Then the good thing is that if you look at the leader right now of Zanu PF, Comrade Idim Nangagwa, he is living up to Nkomo's legacy. Nkomo wanted development, especially in Matabeleland, because we're lagging behind. And right now, if you look at this, just 1 minute, if you look at the schedule of our president, he's always more in Matabeleland than anywhere else. And he's trying to live to the legacy of trying to say, let's uplift Matabeleland for once. Thank you.
Thank you. We are out of time. Professor Mukonza, 30 seconds. Give us your last word.
I think people who say Nkomo sold out are people who are, interpreting his actions out of context. And I must say to the viewers and to everyone that context is everything. You need to understand his decisions in the context of what had happened during the Gukra Hundi. You need to understand his actions in the context of the role players that he was acting together with. If you analyze Nkomo as a character alone, you may actually miss the whole point. Nkomo, to me, was a leader that Zimbabwe really would have, if he had become the president, he was that leader that Zimbabwe would have really benefited immensely out of. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so very much to Ubaba Msongelwa Ndlovu, Zapu spokesperson, Professor Ricky Mukonza, vanodzidzisa political science and governance at Tshuma University. And thank you also to Ukolite Ubaba Joseph Tshuma of Zanu PF. My name is Mqabuko Nkomo.
And this is Evan Sininga bidding you farewell tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah,